Hey, it's Mr. Shrum, and I'm going to look at the Unit 2 project-based learning activity. And this is about algae blooms or algal blooms. A walk along the Florida coast. On a walk along the Florida coast, you see white sand and clear blue water. As you continue walking, you start to smell the odor of rotting trash and decaying organisms. You notice that the water has a green, greasy appearance. Later, while scrolling through the local news website on your phone, you spot an article about harmful algae blooms and realize that this is what you saw during your walk. You see a photo of conditions along the coastline, and after reading the article, understand that the problem is more widespread than you had first imagined. How can I help? Now that you've seen harmful algae blooms, or HABs for short, firsthand, you want to learn more about the problem. What are HABs? What causes them? Are they all harmful? Where are they most likely to occur? And to answer these questions, you begin researching the problem in more depth. You find that a lot of people who are monitoring and trying to predict and reduce HABs are environmental scientists working hard in conjunction with local environmental activists. Your goal is to organize your information and present your findings during the next local town hall meeting. Have you guys ever been to a town hall meeting or city council? You intend to inform and educate your community and local governing officials about the effects of HABs. To do that, though, you must step into the shoes of an environmental scientist. All right, so what is an environmental scientist? For this project, you will assume the role of an environmental scientist, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, environmental scientists do the following. They monitor environmental conditions in the field, analyze biological samples in the lab, advise companies and policymakers on the best ways to clean up pollution in the environment, and keep people and environment safe and healthy. What do I need to know and understand? The driving question, how can you as an environmental scientist educate and inform my community about the health of our local bodies of water? The essential questions, what causes algae blooms? Is there anything we can do to prevent algae blooms? For this project, you will follow these steps. Investigate the factors that affect the development of algae blooms. Synthesize your research to examine causes and effects of algae blooms. Design a slide presentation to help educate and inform the public about algae blooms. All right, so we're going to investigate what's causing them. What are the factors? And then we're going to take that research to examine the cause and effects of algae blooms. And then we're actually going to create a slide presentation, and you're going to pretend that you'll present this information to City Hall. So we're trying to let the public know what's happening and what to do about it. This project is about digging in deep to find the answers to hard questions and real problems. You are successful when you can present in-depth answers to hard questions or propose a solution to a real-world problem. So I'm going to grade you on doing thorough research and producing a presentation that is similar in quality to what a professional in the field you're studying would produce. Well, you are going to try to produce a presentation that is very high quality and would work in convincing the public, all right, what's going on? Why should we care about this issue in the first place? To understand how your work will be graded, there is a rubric here. And we want to aim for 3s and 4s. All right, research, data modeling, solution, presentation, writing conventions. So the research should be at least nice work. The submission includes thorough research and causes and effects. Sufficient charts, graphs, and photos support the research, but some data does not support the purpose of the presentation. That's nice work, but it could be tweaked a little bit. A workable solution is presented and explained. The solution is mostly, but not entirely, supported by the research. The presentation includes all 4 sections, each of which are addressed in some depth. Work contains 1 or 2 writing, grammar, or spelling errors. And then 4 for everything is like you went above and beyond. You researched, and it's all very detailed. Data and modeling, you use charts and graphs and photos, and they're all convincing and supporting what you say. And similar things can be said for the other categories as well. Go through your writing and grammar, make sure your spelling's all correct. And really, when it comes to presenting, you just don't want your mistakes to be distracting. It's okay to have a few mistakes if you miss things, but ideally you want to go over your work and then you get a friend to look over your work to make sure you didn't miss anything. Part 1, learn about algae blooms. This says estimated time for this part, 3 days. You may have heard certain algae blooms referred to as red tides. Watch this short video about red tides in the state of Florida. What is causing the red tide? They are caused by toxins in the algae. They smell bad and they kill many living creatures. It's true that Florida's red tides smell bad. They're caused by toxins in the algae and they kill many creatures. They've even killed large animals like manatees and a whale. The red tides in Florida can be extensive, covering more than 100 square miles. Before starting your research, think about these driving questions. What causes algae blooms? What are the physical characteristics? How do they appear? Where are algae blooms most likely to occur? Are all algae blooms harmful? How do algae blooms affect humans, land animals, and marine life? How fast do environmental scientists expect algae blooms to grow? As you begin, keep in mind the tips for evaluating sources and searching online on the following screen. All right. So the internet is a very great place. However, you have to be careful when you're conducting internet research. Information found through an internet search engine isn't always accurate or of good quality. Anyone can post material on the internet, and for this reason, it's important to carefully evaluate each online source. Often websites or databases suggested by subject matter experts are valid and trustworthy for the most part. A website cited in an academic source or as a link from a credible source is also most likely reliable. Make sure a website's domain is reputable. .orgs, .edus, .gov, .mil. It says these are reputable. However, you should take all of these things with a grain of salt, because even these domains may not have very reliable information as well. Evaluate the author. Look for the author's name on an online source and check for additional information about the author on the website. An author who has an affiliation with a reputable organization is generally credible. Check whether the author has provided any credentials or contact details like a mailing address or email. Check whether information on a website is supported by other credible sources. Generally, if a website refers to other trustworthy sources, it is trustworthy. Check information on the site against other sources to ensure that it is credible. The website should present information fairly and objectively as much as it can. It should not present the author's agenda or point of view. Check whether the site contains advertisements. Advertisements connected to information on a website may be a source of bias. So if people are trying to make money off of a certain subject or a certain site, that definitely is not a great look. Check when the page was created to see how current the content is as well. And you also want to cite your sources correctly. When using online sources for your written content, you need to credit them properly. Otherwise, it's seen as plagiarism. The citation format will depend on your teacher's standards and preferences. Here are some common style guides to use when creating citations. So you have the Modern Language Association, MLA, the American Psychological Association, APA. And one easy thing is to use EasyBib. It helps you create citations in various formats, and that will make things a lot easier on you. Tips for searching the web. Phrases. When a phrase is entered in the search window, a search engine considers each word in the phrase individually. And the order of the words is not important. So, for example, if you're entering rock climbing shoes, the search will generate words with rock, climbing, and shoes, and not necessarily because they're together. If you want the search engine to find the exact phrase, place the phrase inside quotation marks. So you would put quotation mark, rock climbing shoes, quotation mark, and it will produce pages about shoes used for rock climbing only. Search engines typically ignore words that are used to connect verbs, actions, with nouns. Nouns are people, places, or things. These words are called stop words because they don't add meaning to the search. Examples include after, the, between, to, there, on, and you. If these words are an important part of the search, either place the individual word inside the quotation mark or precede the word with a plus sign. So you could do F. Scott Fitzgerald book, The Great Gatsby, enter the Great Gatsby, or plus The Great Gatsby. Omissions. To remove a word from a search, precede the word with a minus sign. For example, to search for green vegetables that don't include lettuce, enter green vegetables in quotation marks minus lettuce. The results should produce pages showing green vegetables such as peas, kale, but not lettuce. Wildcard searches, equivalent searches. So sometimes they don't distinguish between uppercase and lowercase. Search for a base word, and that can help keep out irrelevant information. Autocomplete. advanced searching. So this will be helpful if you've used the basic search, but you still haven't found what you need. Try the search engine's advanced search features. That allows you to search for pages by type, date of creation, language, and even number ranges. Operators, the words and, or, and not are called logical operators, and they can help you refine your search results. The word and will produce only pages that contain both keywords. For example, boating and safety returns only websites that relate to both boating and safety. The word or will produce pages that contain both keywords as well as pages that contain either individual keyword alone. So for example, electricity or magnetism, it'll return sites about electricity or sites about magnetism. The word not will remove a selected word from the search. For example, winter sports, not skiing, will return only sites referencing winter sports other than skiing. So now we're in the gathering information stage. What causes algae blooms? What are the physical characteristics and appearance of algae blooms? Where are they likely to occur? What are they made out of? Are they all harmful? How do they affect humans, land animals, marine life? How fast are they expected to grow? So we're going to use those search engines to answer these questions. You can look at these sources. NOAA, NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, National Ocean Service, EPA, NIH, the National Institute of Environmental Health Services, etc. So here we have some matching words. Too much nitrogen and phosphorus from runoff, nutrients, consistently warm waters, temperature, sun energy powers plant growth of light, lower amounts of winds and waves than normal, minimal turbulence. So nitrogen and phosphorus fuel red tides. If warm waters are consistent, they create a temperature that promotes the development of these red tides. Calm waters allow the algae to concentrate, and the sunlight affects the growth rate of the algae. Once you've conducted your research, organize all the information you gathered, and you can do that like this. Here's the source. And then this is how you can write the notes as well. Microchips, packaging, etching, digital pins, wafers, testing. So whatever makes more sense to you to keep all your information organized, do that. So this is graded activity part 1, time for feedback. You've organized your research about algae blooms. Now it's time to share it with your teacher for feedback. Before submitting your work, evaluate it against the feedback checklist that your teacher will use to check your organized research. You can also discuss your research with others to get additional feedback. Your research about algae blooms should answer the following questions and should be organized in an outline, chart, or other graphic organizer. Go to graded activities in the toolbar to upload your organized research and submit it to your teacher to receive feedback. So you can go to these graded activities, blah, 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 blah. Draft your presentation. So now we want to put all of that information that you gathered into a presentation. with the idea of telling this to other people and making them understand what you found out for yourself. And this is the step-by-step process that you should go through in the presentation. You want to define the problem. What is the problem? Explain the effect on local, national, and/or global waterways. Explain the cause of the problems. Inform the community of actions it can take to help reduce the problem. So you come in, you define the problem. How does the problem affect us and the things around us in the environment? What causes it? How can we prevent it in the future? Defining the problem, we're explaining why harmful algae blooms are a problem and why understanding and reducing HABs is important. How does it affect local, national, or global waterways? We're going to use our research to show what it actually does to the environment on the local scale, the national scale, and global scale. So here you can use images and charts and graphs to show people what is actually going on. Explain the cause of the problem. So what are the main things going on with HABs that is causing them to proliferate, to keep coming on the Florida coast? What can the community do to help? Using your newly acquired skills, educate the public about steps they can take to help reduce the problem and share resources they can access to learn more about the problem. Here are some good tips for creating a slide presentation. You can use Google Slides. That's the easiest thing to do on a Chromebook. Use a text size that will be easy for your audience to read. It's a bigger, clear lettering. Use simple and consistent font styles, colors, graphs, and graphics. Use lists to present points in user-friendly colors, such as primary colors, to make the content easy to read. Use clear, crisp graphics that are easy to understand. Present information in slides so that it flows in a logical order. Use minimal text and other elements to keep your slides uncluttered. You want to emphasize the key points on each slide. You want to know why the information is on the slide. And if it's on the slide, you should be talking about it and it should be important. And you want to interplay with the slides. So you want to have stuff on your slides that makes sense. And then you also want the words you're saying to boost whatever you're showing on the screen. So you want to explain in words and visually to the public. We want a clearly defined problem, a clear explanation about where, why, and when the problem occurs. And then we're going to support these explanations with facts and research, a clear and targeted message to the audience, a clear explanation of why this is a problem and how can people help. So what's the problem? What's causing the problem? How is it affecting us? And how can we stop it? How can we solve the problem? Part 3, your final presentation. And then you'll just submit your final presentation. And then you'll reflect on what you learned. What did you learn about your environmental scientist position? What did you learn about HABs? What did you learn about scientists and how they engage the public in their research? What part of the presentation did you feel was the strongest? How can you continue to improve your skill? What was the most important thing you learned from the project? And that's it for the project-based learning activity. Ooh, that was for the last one. And that is it for Unit 2. I'll talk about Unit 3 next time. But until then, have a good one, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.